All right, ladies and gentlemen, Truth Will Set You Free will be beginning in just about 1 minute. Start sharing it out there. Hit the like button, comments. The more you can do to help the algorithm, thank you. That's how we get people to watch the show. Today, we've got an interview with the nursing home nurse. We're going to save that for the end of the episode. It's kind of leading into the whole concept of it being Thanksgiving and talking about being around your friends, family, etc. So I want to make sure you guys get a chance to hear a little bit about that and a great interview I did with her. At the same time, today's episode, we're talking about the election. Where the hell we are with the election. We've got some great guests as well. Suni and Bobby, you've seen before. Cash is most likely indisposed, so I don't want to make an empty promise. He was supposed to send a video, may not have Cash on the show today. But we have a special guest, Joel Bryant. He is a comedian that is currently looking for work like most comedians, but he's going to be funny as well as give his viewpoint, which is much more middle ground probably than Suni, Bobby, and I. So that'll be an interesting flip to the show. So again, today's Truth Will Set You Free, number 28. Share, like, all the good stuff. Tell us where you're from in the comment box. Quick interview with the nursing home nurse. And then, of course, the saga that is the election here in 2020. Check where everybody's from right now. We got Ricky Ramsey in the house. Reagan, I believe she came from Bobby Sauce's page. Or no, that's Suni's page. Jessica Birch, John, Sherry, all over the place, all over the country. It's about time we get the show started. Again, keep sharing this out there. Thank you guys for your support right here at #BeTheChange, and Truth Will Set You Free. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Truth Will Set You Free. My name is Anthony Michael Russo. Again, I ask you guys to share this out there. Keep pounding that like button and help us get some more views back up. I don't know what happened in the last few months, but I think we can all assume the Facebook algorithm kicked our ass. But this is Truth Will Set You Free. This is kind of our news entertainment, infotainment show where we give a little bit of info, what's going on. We give our opinions, our very educated ones, the best that we can. And we try to always have alternative viewpoints. So we're going to set this up a little differently. I'm going to start out giving a few words, and then we're going to introduce all the different people we have on today's show. They're going to give a little ditty, and then we're going to get right down to business. So with that said, I think it's time that we need to actually start looking inside as a country. We need to figure out where the hell we're going as a country. I've taken a step back this week and I've looked around and realized that we're not all crazy. Liberals, Republicans, we're not all mad. Nobody is fully correct. Nobody is fully wrong. But we're hurting as a country and we're struggling to figure out exactly where we are going to go from here. Everything in this country has turned to race. It's frustrating. Biden's first comments today, if you were watching when he was introducing his potential cabinet, was this first Latino and first Black this. I think this is a huge problem. We've decided to go back to giving merit based on color of skin instead of the content of people's character. And we've made this the number one issue in our country and in our decision making, whether it's business or government. I do think some people have begun to blindly follow Trump, a man who I wholeheartedly support. Truly, I do. But we're hoping that he has this master plan. And this is not the same as being absolute and saying he has a plan. I hope he does. But is it obvious? Is it 100%? I can't say that. And I encourage everybody that's probably watching this to be careful how we say that. Absolutes call for other absolutes, and people from across the lines right now, if you are conservative looking across at your liberal friends, they are chomping at the bit to call us crazy and conspiracy theorists. Ultimately, though, I think what we need during this week, this month, this time is positivity. I encourage everyone out there to watch a movie, a documentary that I just watched that came out this summer. It's on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. It's called Uncle Tom. It's a documentary on Black conservatives and the way that they view the world. And I'm not opposed to the viewpoint and educating people on the viewpoint of how horrible our history has treated minorities. But I would love for the positivity to also be shown in schools as well. It gives hope. Negative history without hope just perpetuates the same negative history over and over again. This does not perpetuate change. And lastly, I want everybody to know I'm personally excited for Thanksgiving. No matter the historical context of pilgrims and Indians. I'm not going to cover that. But whether you get to spend it together or not, or without alcohol, which is super weird based on the random states that are without alcohol. Can you imagine this political holiday season, this hell of a year without alcohol at the family? That's bullshit. But be thankful that we're still here. We are still free, and we still have some family and friends with us. And the ones that are supposed to be with us have stuck around, and they have. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for this platform and the people that come to us for hope and fair conversation. And that's the way that I would like to start today's conversation. Let's have a little fun, and let's introduce our guests. I'm going to start with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. TakeNaps, Bobby Sausalito. What's going on, Bobby? You're muted. You're totally muted.
Yo, what's good? Glad to be here. Totally muted. No big deal. It's fine.
Excellent. And Suni, what's going on, Suni?
Hello. Oh my gosh, the wrong camera's on.
That's my problem. That's not me. I don't know.
Right.
All right.
Boom.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Number one.
Hello, guys. Hi.
So this is part of the crew that makes up what will be its own show, separate of this, the Conservengers. And we're accepting, I think we got to get a whole shirt. We got the superhero cape, but this is part of the crew of that. Cash also being included. Angry Viking, if he's not booted off of every single platform that he joins. In this episode, we've got a middle grounder that's going to join us and talk a little bit. You've never met him before, so I hope he gets to introduce himself, tell him a little bit about it. You guys already know Bobby Sauce and Suni. So now, Joel Bryant, Mr. Comedian, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was eating some turmeric to get my strength up for the show. I was trying to get my immune system ready. What's up, everybody?
At your age, you need a little bit more than turmeric. I'm not going.
Is it turmeric or turmeric? What do you go with?
Turmeric.
Is that a caramel or a caramel debate? Are we going to start off hot like this? Are we starting with turmeric versus turmeric?
Oh man.
Oh, my name is Joel Bryant. I'm a comedian, and I've it's been a sad year. But look, can we just get over with this? Can the election just be done with? Look at this to-do list. Look at all this crap I have to do. There's so much stuff I want to get done. Can we just?
You should rip it up like Pelosi and the one State of the Union.
Oh yeah.
Just right on that.
I don't try to mimic her in public, because it would be disturbing. Hey, but you know what? I do have a show on Amazon Prime right now. I want to say that before we get into it.
Well, yeah, go for it.
Tuned in. What's that?
What's it called?
It's called Ellie and Macabre. Season 2 just got released on Amazon Prime. It's not a comedy, so I'm doing everything but comedy right now.
I mean, pretty much I'll do anything that pays, which is why my arm is so tired lately, but I'm not going to talk about that. That's a totally different subject.
I went behind your paywall on your website. It is fascinating.
Oh, that was fun. So to give somebody some context, because I want a quick look at some comments. Pennsylvania, they're saying there's places with no alcohol. Pennsylvania has stopped the sale of alcohol past 5 p.m. tomorrow because for some odd reason, stopping at 5 will stop the spread of COVID. I don't know how that works. It's also the biggest bar night of the year tomorrow, which will not probably be happening, obviously, as much this year. But why are they not? So we were open. This is how we're going to start. This is how we're going to start the conversation. We were open all of COVID, the liquor stores, because that was the way people were coping. People were wearing their masks. They were separating. What is the purpose of Pennsylvania stopping alcohol sales at 5 p.m. the day before Thanksgiving? Anybody have a thought process on that one?
Control.
He took the words out of my mouth.
It's control. It's not even they're hiding in plain sight. It's control. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. It's completely arbitrary. There's absolutely no science or anything to support it whatsoever. It's completely about subservience and control without a question.
Joel, what do you got?
I think it's coddling. I think it's I don't buy the control angle that I hear in a lot of the narrative. I get that politicians make policy for control, and that's kind of what their job is. But I think it's coddling. I think it's saying, look, if we close at 5, look, we're kind of doing enough to make things better. It's the same thing as I'm in New Mexico and they closed wineries, but they didn't close breweries or something like that. And it's kind of like, we're doing a little bit kind of stuff, but not doing everything. I think when you play this middle ground, that's what keeps us in a pandemic for 9 months of lockdown. So I think it's unnecessary coddling and saying, look what we're doing when we're not really doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different C word. I can see that too. I think it's the key word for me is arbitrary. It's asinine. Actually, asinine is probably better. It makes no sense. There is no reason to do it except for like perspective. Like maybe this will make people feel better. I don't know. Like,
well, here's the thing. If you are a real, honest, good alcoholic like myself, you are stocked up. Like stopping at 5 p.m. is not going to stop anybody from really getting their alcohol on. So it's a stupid maneuver. It's stupid and it's see-through and it's transparent. Now, whether it's control or coddling or whatnot, it's just unnecessary.
Yeah, but you're
on paper.
You're alone all the time and you don't really have anybody around you, which is, I mean, it's sad in and of itself. So that's why you're able to stock up on stuff. Think about the family that needs last minute booze that has been busy with their kids all week, homeschooling right now because of all the.
But what is not being able to purchase alcohol? What does that do? And let's say that it's coddling. Well, what exactly does that mean, coddling? Is that not just a kind of like a synonym for control?
No, I think it's more of a synonym for like virtual signaling, just showing like, look, we're doing something when they're not really doing anything. I don't think when you say control, it feels like they're trying to stop people from drinking after 5. I think that's anybody who's drinking is going to have their alcohol. I feel like when I say coddling, it's like they're showing they're doing as much as it shows that they're trying to do something about it when they're not really doing anything about it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So I think it's almost the opposite of control, where it's kind of saying like, look, hands up, look what we did. We stopped alcohol at 5. We're doing our part. Now everybody just do your part.
But why would you have to do that if not to let you know that we are doing something that's in your best interest so that you'll accept more and more stealing of your freedom? Why not? Isn't that just a slow drip towards more and more control? Because they're just like, hey, look, here we are. We're saving you. We're helping you with this particular example. Yet next time when we saved you last time, you can trust us. Look at all these things that we're doing. That's how you take more control. You don't take it all at once. You take a little bit over time to the point where they're begging you for that control. And that's kind of what it is. It's just a little piece, one at a time, slowly over time.
So it's alcohol.
It's
alcohol.
To me, it's like Bobby, you're seeing a more sinister angle, which I think is possible, and then you're seeing more of it's just stupid. Like you're seeing it as stupid. Bobby's seeing it as sinister.
Right.
But if they do we not think that the stuff that they're trying to put in is not making America less great and taking away freedom, giving the government more control, giving the power structure more control, taking away individual freedom, personal liberty, one piece at a time, imposing more and more taxes on individuals, giving more government control over systems and structures, taxing things like buying and selling houses, taxing things like buying and selling stock, putting taxes on gun magazines and taxes on firearms and all these other random things that are just slowly chipping away at all of the things that make America great. Isn't this just a small individual example of one of many things of them just slowly taking all of your power away? You know what their plan is, and they're talking about how they want to get you to a point where you own nothing and the government controls all of these things. So is this not just one piece down a line? It's not that it's just this big evil thing, but like in a lot of ways, it kind of is. It's taking your freedom away. I don't understand how it has anything to do with it.
I think we've got a liberal in the box there.
No one said they're stopping us from drinking.
Thank you. I think we have taken notice that we can drink whenever we want. The point is, you are stopping the sale of alcohol after 5 and saying it has to do with COVID. It makes absolutely no sense.
Right.
Yeah,
The only reason they're doing this is I think we agree. We're on the same side here.
We totally agree. And honestly, it's funny. I'm trying to start being more positive and look at the more positive angle. So I'm actually going to take almost Joel's side on this one. I just think it's lunacy. It's fucking stupid. Part of me think that it could be sinister. I am hoping that I'm going to give whatever is going to happen the next couple months a little bit of breathing room to see how it plays out. Is this really the end of the world? Is it not? I'm going to take the positive aspect of it, and I'm going to say that it's just It's a bunch of stupid governors that probably have been lifelong politicians that don't really know anything about asking scientists, or they're just doing what they're told by somebody above them, and it's just stupid. I'm going to go with stupidity.
I tend to believe that. I tend to believe that initially, but the more and more I've been paying attention to this, the more that I've been realizing, do we have any understanding of how many people are being destroyed by this? Do we have any understanding of how many people are fucking dying as a result of this shit? Do we have any understanding of how many people are not getting fucking cancer screenings and shit and are fucking dying from this shit? From this fucking protect us from 40 deaths a day, of which we don't know if they're actually dying from COVID or if they're just dying with pre-existing comorbidities, or they got in a fucking car accident and they had COVID. So the lying about the fucking numbers, you can't trust that shit, number one. Number two, think about all the other things, the domestic abuse, the substance abuse, the suicides, the destruction of your finances. These motherfuckers are being evil. People are fucking dying from this, and it's not from fucking COVID. This shit is bullshit. And yeah, maybe it's not evil, but is it not that all these motherfucking people are dying from this shit? Like, there's so many bad things that are happening as a result. To think that it's just like, oh, they're just being silly and like they're just taking it away to, I don't know, man. There people are getting fucking punished heavily for a really fucking long time from this, and it is extremely serious. And to think that it's just like, I don't know, I just think is dangerous, because I wanted to believe that too. And the more that I look at it, I'm like, yo, these fucking people are killing tons of people, and shit is being destroyed. And like, we have no idea how many people are committing suicide as they lose all of their fucking savings. Like, if you invested in a restaurant, you invest your whole life and it just gets destroyed. Like, imagine the anxiety, imagine the suicide, all of that shit, all of that pain and fear, all of that stuff is not being measured. And to think that it's just like, I don't know. I think it's a lot more evil than I think, and it's sad, because I've been realizing that over time, and I just think it's worse than I want to believe.
Agreed. Now, Jess has a great point. I have a patient that would rather die from COVID than not see family in long-term care. That is kind of the interview that I did a little bit later with that nurse, and I'll show that later. And if I was old right now, I'd be like, I'd rather see my kids. And we'll talk about that later. Regardless. All right, now that we've got the show started, Bobby, I don't know if you know this, but we have a tip jar for swearing now. So you owe charity a lot of money. You just nailed it, but you owe charity a lot of money.
Yeah, he went off there for a second. It got a little heated. I was
look, I don't mean to drop the energy level, but like, I've just been paying attention a lot to this stuff lately, and I'm just like, people are getting this at a major level.
I'm with you. It really infuriates me to watch what they're doing.
It's bad. It's worse than I thought. At first, I was like, I don't know, but dude, it's fucking really bad.
I agree with the general picture of it, but to be honest, like everything you said, Bobby, I stand 100% behind, and I scarily agree. I think that this specific one, the alcohol one, is just stupidity, and I think that's where, like, across the board, yes. This one, I think, is just like, this shows the stupidity of the people in charge. All right. So real quick, I want to talk to you guys a little about what we got going on with Streetlights. So as you guys have seen, I posted it on the Streetlights page. I know a lot of you guys are Cashley Kelly followers. We have 38 Streetlights groups across the country right now. Only join the page associated with where you live, or if you're on the border. The purpose of those pages is not just sharing positivity. We do that on there. The purpose is if you can help, if you've got volunteer opportunities, if you want to give away a sofa, give away a piece of furniture, that's the purpose of those pages. So until we have full funding as a charity, we are empowering you guys to be the change you want to see by helping out people locally. We're already doing that with some families that are being adopted and taken care of over this holiday season, which is great. So join your state page, go to the Streetlights page. I will also put that on our page later. Second, let's see, I'm going to go to some of these. The podcast, if you guys want to follow it, the easiest way to follow it is just by going to #BeTheChange.com/podcast, which we have Truth Will Set You Free Changemakers, which tomorrow night, Changemakers is a great story. I don't know if you guys saw the post with Cartier Carey. He's not even 13 years old, and he gave out 20,000 diapers to parents that are in need, to single parent moms. And a phenomenal story. He was on ABC News. He's going to be on Changemakers tomorrow. That is one of the podcasts. Coming up soon, we will have the Conservengers podcast as well. And last but not least, we, of course, have to let you guys know we're doing, besides the clothing, easy to find, #BeTheChange, go to shop at the top of the page. And lastly, so I've been doing these special things for Patreons 4 people that are Patreons of Be the Change. You're going to get a little Monday morning motivation each week. And then we might do a Getting Over the Hump Wednesday. So I'm going to keep this scrolling on the bottom of all the of this broadcast. So if you guys can help us out, that is how we are currently funding anything and everything. So the more people, the better. So anybody that is a Patreon will be able to be a part of the Monday motivation, and then some of the other people will get the fun trivia nights and stuff like that. Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to shove that on the bottom of the screen. I don't know what I did with it, so I'm going to have to get back to that in a second. With that said, let's go ahead and talk about where we are currently in the election. Bobby, you had a great take, I believe, yesterday on TakeNaps. What's your current thought on the status as we see it right now?
Well, I'm echoing now. Where's that coming from?
Oh, is it? I don't know. Is that me?
I don't know.
If he swears with an echo, is that like twice as much money that goes this way? Is it an audible thing? How do you judge this?
So it's gone now. I think that we're going to remain in the same position probably for a little while. I think that the Sidney Powell lawsuit in Georgia, I believe they announced today that it will be dropped tomorrow. So I think that that'll be something to know. But really, I kind of feel like we're really not going to know much until for another, like, I would say even like several weeks. So as it sits right now, I feel like it's almost kind of like the same position. More and more information comes out, but it's kind of like it's an incomplete puzzle. So we don't really know what it looks like. I think it's like you either have to hold out until it's no longer, or with each individual piece of news that comes out, we have to remember that every single time that it gets delivered to us, unless we're getting it from the source, it's getting tainted in one way or another to make us believe that it's one thing or the other. If you looked at that GSA from any mainstream news outlet, you're like, it's over. Like I had a guy mention it to me today, a fellow Donnie Ballgame supporter, and he's like, I guess it's over now. And it's like, no. Like you're looking through it through the mainstream lens. So I think that we just have to be patient and look at the guy. The guy said what's going to happen. So I still have faith that that's what's going to happen. And until it is no longer possible, I will maintain that despite any external signals to suggest otherwise. So that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Joel, I know that your opinion is a little different. How do you feel about the current status of the election?
Like it's over, Biden.
No. Here's the thing. Elections have never been decided until December 14th when they officially announced the winners. It's always been decided by the media beforehand, or it's been over because someone mathematically wasn't going to win, so they conceded that night, and America just kind of moved on November 5th. It's not ever official until December 14th when all the states count. So this whole dragging out, like, why is everybody saying, why is it being so dragged out? Why are you doing this and that and the other? It's always been dragged out. They've never decided an election on November 4th, unless the one person just drops out, which they usually do. But and yes, you want to recount everything else, but as lawsuit gets thrown out, at some point you just have to go, the lawsuits that you have right now are for a certain amount of votes that aren't going to add up to you getting a win anyway. So at some point it does become a debate of pride, I think, really is what it comes down to. You know what I mean? I think that, yes, it should be. I think the story is becoming too much. It's been too much of a story for too long. I don't think the election's over. I think everything should be counted, and I think the legals, the legality should play themselves out. But I think it's over as a story. I don't think it's a necessary story because every new thing that drops just looks bad on Trump. You know what I mean? Every time a new story comes out, it's like, oh, this happened. Nothing has come out yet that was like, oh, wait a second, we have a shot at this now. So I think it's over as a story. I don't think it's over as a voting process because it never is until the middle of December.
Suni, what do you think? I think you're muted.
Can we hear now?
Yeah.
Am I here?
Yeah.
I think we just I'm a realist. The media is the media. They do this shit for ratings. They scare the living fuck out of people for ratings. Like, just they gotta make money. The only thing they could do is talk about Trump this, talk about Trump that, Trump. They don't talk about anybody else. It's so bad it makes me wonder, what the fuck are you gonna talk about if Biden's in office? What are you gonna report on?
But the problem is you also have a celebrity who's a president right now who also controls the media cycle.
No,
No, he does.
he does not control them. How does he control the media cycle?
No.
I think, look, and honestly, that's a compliment. He's brilliant at it. If something comes up that's a little bit debatable that he's done in the past, he'll tweet out some kind of sketch and he manipulates the media cycle. He's a marketing genius. He always has been.
Okay, so to that point, I believe in terms of the stock market, in terms of the way that he's handled things, he has been able to, for people to call him stupid, I think part of the reason why our stocks and why today we broke the 30,000 barrier, I think the reason why our economy has continued to do good is he knows when to release certain things from the president, like stories about this, stories about that. And I think that's how our economy is not completely folded. Small businesses gone. But in terms of stock market and people's saved wealth, I think is saved by the way that he does manipulate his words in the media. Now, in terms of the way the media portrays him, he has zero control over. And I think that's, to me, that's the only reason that if indeed Biden did win, that's the only reason he won, is because of the way the media has manipulated him as a human and as a president. Because there's
I think the general media, and when we say media, a certain portion of the media, because there's also a certain portion of the media that raises him up on a platform. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess if we're talking about
not on the mainstream level.
We're talking about mainstream
media, which always kind of, it's just a term that kind of bugs me, but I get what that means by the mainstream media, like colloquially, I get it. But he's, and I don't think he's stupid at all. I think he's genius. And I think that if the media is attacking him one way or another, he's genius in throwing it right back at the media and attacking the media and the fake news and everything. He's always been like that. But I'm saying he controls the narrative of his presidency, because if something is happening one way, all he has to do is go on Twitter or do a news conference or something, say something else, and all of a sudden the media in their grasp for the news story and for viewers, well, all of a sudden, oh, wait, what's over here? It's like dangling keychains in front of a puppy. You know, it's like, oh, wait, this is a hotter story now. And then they forget everything that they're reporting on that was bad over here, and they start a whole new story. Trump's always manipulated that, and he's brilliant at it. I think he's
I don't disagree, but I think in the term in the context that we're speaking of, in terms of this political cycle and election cycle, you can only manipulate so much. He can manipulate the daily focus on our country, but he cannot manipulate the way I mean, it was literally take Biden's budget, his ad campaign budget, and then quadruple it, because every bit of coverage, even a little bit from Fox, showed how terrible of a person he is without ever giving context to that. But again, it's so easy to have a conversation and manipulate the general American public. Again, you had a voter base that couldn't even tell you why they voted against Donald Trump, except for they don't like him. Or they can't tell you why they voted for Biden, except for they don't like Donald Trump. And then when you ask them this, and this is a continuing issue on this show, I've got 2 or 3 liberals willing to come on because they know that they're treated fairly when they're on here. Besides that, it's impossible to bring liberals on this show because they don't want to have the hard conversation. And really their argument is based off of the headlines from CNN, the headlines from mainstream media that gives enough speaking point to it. Sounds like they know what they're coming from, but once you challenge any of the points, it's gone. So can he manipulate the media on a daily basis? Somewhat, but doing that for 4 years wears on the American public when he had to, and I think he had to do it strategically to avoid all the bullshit that was coming out of Congress and the impeachments and the Russian collusion, which to anybody that's still having the issue of why he's fighting for 2 or 3 weeks at this point, can't stomach the concept of how long Russian collusion was pushed for either. There's also tapes coming out right now of Joe Biden essentially hinting and strongly suggesting to the Ukrainian government to make sure that they paid for certain things so that Trump didn't uncover stuff. Like, these are actual audio recordings that are out right now. So ultimately, he had no control of where we are right now. And I am going to recap back to what you guys all said, and we'll keep going around on this. But why is it that we're rushing? Why is everybody telling people to stop being curious and stop looking at what's really going on? Is there a chance that Joe Biden is the president of the United States of America? Absolutely.
No. Heck no.
Wait, no question.
But again, I think part of that is because of the unfair election cycle that has just made people without true education. There is some people that have educated reasons why they don't like Donald Trump, but there's a lot of people that don't. And I challenge them and have these conversations, and they're still bringing up the grabbing the pussy comment. And I'm like,
but you can still vote your emotion, right? You can still vote your innate what you feel. You know what I mean? Even if you can vote, you can vote policy, you can vote certain platforms. You could just not like someone and be like, look, I don't like what he said on TV.
That's fair, but how is that a fair vote, right? Like, how is that a fair vote if you're thinking based on how you feel? Well,
you have to be likable.
I feel like
it's the same reason Kennedy.
Yeah, but it's at the end of the day, this is the president. I don't care if I don't like him.
Yep.
If he's got a totally fair thought, but think of it like this: then what do you like about the other guy? So that if it's a character comparison, how does Biden compare? He can't complete a sentence. He also is known for awkwardly grabbing, and I never am going to call him a pedophile. I don't think that's a fair assessment, but he's creepy as shit, sniffs people, sniffs children, awkwardly flirts, has also rape allegations against him as well. So
let's leave that out.
I'm not debating. I'm not trying to say one is better than the other. My point being, someone who goes to a voting booth, you can vote however you want to vote. That's the whole point of it, right? That's the freedom of it. So if you're not educated, if you're like, I don't know anything about globalism, I don't even know what the stock market, I don't know. But when I see somebody, I just don't like how that person talks about certain things. Sure. That's your right as an American to say, I'm going to vote against it based on that. I'm not saying we should all agree with it. Look, I wish we do. I wish you could take tests and you have to pass a certain test to go into a voting booth. But it's the same reason if you have to go to a jury of your peers. You just hope they don't have 12 knuckleheads on there, and you hope a jury of your peers actually has some kind of reasonable head about them.
Yeah, but you have a lawyer. You have a lawyer in that instance that can help select a jury that's going to be fair. In this case, we just have to trust that the American public, who is getting false information 80% of the time, has to make a decision. Bobby, go ahead.
I think it is extremely ill-advised to vote for anything but policy. That's it. Emotion in that shit is irrelevant. The way that somebody talks, the way that they sound, the way that they look, you don't like their eyebrows, that all is trash. The only thing that matters is the policies. Is the only thing that matters. I will never, ever agree with anything other than that. You should be worried about what they're going to do and how those decisions will affect your life, your family's life, and the future of the nation and our freedom. It does not matter if that guy sucks or if he looks away or you feel away. All that is subjective garbage. It's policy. You should be voting for policy. Every American should be voting for policy. You have the freedom to not, but I would highly suggest that we spread the message of voting for policy because it is considerably more important.
I 100% agree. I mean, I read over, but you know what? You know how it is. You get your ballot thing in the mail, your sample ballot in the mail, and you read it, and you're going through some of these props, and you're like, I have no idea what this prop is, and I'm an educated individual. You know what I mean? Like some of it.
Vote for it. Then you shouldn't vote for it.
Oh, agreed, 100%. I agree with you 100%. But
yeah.
But that being said, someone like a Donald Trump, since we're on it, is I think when he does speak, when his speeches, his language is powerful, and I do think people vote on that. And yeah, it's emotional, but I do think the emotional reaction has caused uproar, whether it's justified or not. It has caused uproar. So I think there is a validity to voting on how somebody makes you particularly. I don't want to say feel because it sounds like I'm being kind of like namby-pamby. Like I'm not saying that, but as a personality on the international stage, in the national stage, you do have a certain sway with how your conduct affects the rest of the country. You know what I mean? I mean, look, your policies can match up with my policies left and right. But if you come out and you say something, and you call my mother a name, I'll be like, well, I don't even care what your economic policies are. You don't talk bad about my mom like that. But I'm not going to vote for you.
But that's feelings.
That's feelings. You should.
No, I agree, but I think there's something valid too.
And that not only, and actually, Joel, I'm going to agree with you on this point. However,
Anthony, you're gone, dude. You're gone. You're toast.
Wait, Bobby. Wait, hear me out.
By the way, I agree with that. By the way, let me just address real quick. I agree that you should research 100%. 100%. Read it, understand, and learn things for sure. 100%.
Research
Okay,
is
go ahead.
crucial if you're going to vote because you fucking feel like
No,
the guy
you
is a dick or whatever.
You left me taking grenades in the dirt because I said one thing. But hold on, let me specify why I
You
agree.
said everything is what you said.
So I agree to a point, but problem is I don't agree with it because our feelings have been manufactured by the media. So our feelings have been manufactured. If they were true feelings, like if somebody met Donald Trump and they agreed with this policy and he was a jackass to them, then you know what?
No.
But that's to me that's a human condition. Now but hold on, the way that you look at Joel, the way you look at Joel's comment is people think that he's been mean to people that are he's been mean to people that have disabilities. It's proven false. It's proven. Who am I echoing off of? Hold on a sec. It's been proven false that was BS. There's people to this day that their feelings tell him that he hates black people and he's a white supremacist. That's false, and it's a false feeling that has come from the media. So in some ways, we're human beings. Feelings do matter. Character matters, but the manufacturing of his character is bullshit. That's the thing that's a huge issue. And we're going to talk about Sidney Powell right after this, but go ahead, Suni.
Okay. If we're going to compare both on character, we could look at Joe Biden's character, which, by the way, is never portrayed in the media. So this is bias going in because they don't talk about any of the crazy crap that he's done in his 48 years of being a politician.
I was going to ask Joel that question is what from somebody that's more middle ground than us. Why do you find it odd that Biden was never asked about being a white supremacist, never asked about all of his issues with race? Why was that question never posed to a man that has had a history of calling things racial jungles, racist issues, all these different things, with policy included, and also his issues personally with Tara Reade and all this? Why was that never once brought up to the potential and right now almost president of this country? Hopefully not.
Because he was the anointed one for the Democratic Party. There's no debate about that. I don't debate that media is manipulative and they make a choice and that's what they go with. I don't think that wasn't the narrative that they had for him. You know what I mean? Trump has a certain narrative, and I mean, look, let's not conflate it here. Media is there to make money, and they play to their audience, and whatever their audience wants to see, that's what you have to get the eyeballs to watch you. Otherwise, you get canceled. There's no real media. There's no real journalists anymore. It's all just news personalities out there. That's all it is. It's honestly just talking heads trying to keep the eyeballs through fear, manipulation, and a point of view. It's a TV show. That's all the news is.
Yeah.
And Biden, because he was on all the TV shows and social media and everything else, which are generally liberal owned or run, then that's the narrative that he had. So
but people are being actively lied to. That's sick, bro.
The problem with feelings. That's why
feelings
can't count.
You're being lied to. That's if you just listen to one point of view. But if you listen to the different points of view, of course, I mean, you could say anybody who watches Fox News at the time was being lied to in certain ways as well. Well, you get the one point of view. You got to have the different points of view. You know, like Tucker Carlson has a point of view when he talks. He has a point of view and he says what he is thinking.
So my family is extremely liberal. That's it. Mm-hmm. White people are racist. That's it. The second you try to say, hey, let's look at this alternate reality, because they think that it is, but let's look over here. That stuff doesn't go on anymore.
Right.
You know, there are less racist people in the world than there are just regular people. Well, there's nobody. Yes, we have racism here. It's never going to go away.
Here's the thing when you have the two-party system and you have the us versus them system. You need the one side and you need the other side. You can't have two people of the same. And what kind of storyline is that? That's not going to play on TV. You can't have two people the same thing. I'm like, okay, well, they're both kind of a little bit too similar. So which one do you guys like? That's not how you get ratings. That's not going to play. So that's why they want to set Biden as this and Trump as this. You know, they didn't want to.
But why? The ultimate question is why? Why would you do that?
ratings.
But you're okay. Then you're still deceiving a mass amount of people, and they're not going into that voting booth fairly. Period. If we're going to talk about all of Trump's trash, then you better be bringing up Joe's. And
reality TV isn't real.
Yeah,
it's money. I know. No, I agree. And look, there was stuff out there. It just didn't make it through the whole. It didn't make it to the widespread stuff. But it
did, Joel, and we started sharing it on Facebook, and then somehow, because of the way the social media giants and tech works, bam, they shut that down as well. The fact that Trump may have gotten 73 million votes is a miracle if you look at the way that he has been portrayed. It's literally been the world's largest grassroots campaign of people sharing what they believe and having conversation. People like Cash seeing a dude from the block in the middle of the street and him going, "Who you voting for?" Him going, "Biden, of course." And then 9 minutes later, explaining actual policies and character things that he never knew and switching them there. We had to singly, one by one, convince people that he's not what the media portrays. Do you know how difficult that is on a national level? Right. It's impossible.
Facts, bro.
Against all of your intuition, against all of your feelings, the mountain that had to be climbed to convince somebody to go to that side was a huge one. And he still managed to get, in theory, more votes than any candidate in history. Yet Joe Biden, who was not able to get people to rallies and had very little support online, no followers on any of the social accounts, and a lot of people that didn't even want him, that wanted Bernie, and they were choosing to settle for him. Yet this guy got the most votes in American history. I don't know about that.
But I don't know, man. I mean, you can't really. I mean, caravans and rallies aren't votes. You know what I mean? And there are multiple.
They sure are
things. Man,
definite votes. They're
votes,
those
bro.
are the confirmed votes.
Dude, did you watch Joe Biden's rallies with your eyes?
But everybody had made up their mind. No one was thinking like, should I go to this Biden rally? I'm still kind of on the fence about this whole election. No, they made up their mind. They're like, I'm not going to go to this Biden rally. And let's be honest. Fear of COVID and the super spreader is a very left kind of, it's a left leaning thing.
Yeah.
So anybody who was Democratic, who knew who they're going to vote for, if there's a rally in your town, you'd be like, why would I go over there? That's that's going to be coronavirus everywhere. I'll just stay in and I'll vote when the time comes.
Well, they had cars. You could have been in your car tooting and honking and with like the other 14 people that were there.
I have a Ford Fiesta, dude. You know how uncomfortable that would be? That'd be like 2 hours sitting in my Ford Fiesta. Are you kidding me? You're joking? No, man. The seats don't even recline anymore. It's still beat up. I'm not going to do that.
Speaking of how Joel can't get laid. Okay, so.
How dare you, sir? Fiesta means party. Just so you know, Fiesta means party. You shut your mouth.
So, Bobby, the one thing that I'll say to that is, the numbers were obvious. Like the support for Trump was much bigger. However, the way that I sometimes qualified it was Biden supporters, like Joel said, were terrified to leave the damn house, and their strength came from behind a fucking keyboard. And they were out in numbers on social media, whether or not they followed Biden or not. They were ready to pounce at every instance of any of their conservative friends, which again goes back to my last point. Not only did we have to have these hard conversations with people that were open-minded, we had to have these hard conversations with people that when we opened our mouth, they immediately thought we were racist, bigots, hateful, xenophobes, etc. So it was such an uphill battle again to get to that record-breaking number of votes. But the Biden side mathematically just doesn't make sense that 79 million people or 78, whatever, it doesn't make sense to me.
So it depends on what part of the country you're in too. Look, I was in LA during 2016, Hillary Trump in LA, let's be honest, it's a bubble. I was in there and the place was crestfallen. Absolutely. And no one could understand. You're just like, I don't get how this could happen. Because no one leaves, you get stuck in your bubble after a while. It's the same thing. I've talked to friends in Texas. I think, Anthony, you're in Texas, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the rest of y'all are. But I have friends in Texas who are they're feeling the same. They're crestfallen. Like, I don't get how Trump could have lost. It's because, you know what? You haven't been out to LA or New York or Chicago recently.
Well, I'll say it. Yeah, Chicago was my mind. But like Texas, for example, I wasn't sure if it was going to, I was afraid that it was going to switch. And I mean, it didn't because we don't have Dominion in Texas, but that's a totally different story. That's the segue to the next subject. Sidney Powell, not part of the Trump legal team. What is that? Does anybody have a good explanation of what that means, why that doesn't hurt anything with Trump, what the consideration is with that? I know, Bobby, you know a little bit, yeah?
I only know what I've had the time to research thus far, but and I could be wrong, but my understanding is that her not being part of that official team allows her to act in a different way and bring lawsuits in her own way. I've seen a few things that talk about her being, I believe, a military lawyer, so she can bring other things, and there could be any number of reasons as to why. But look, this is the thing that gives me a lot of solace. Donald Trump has probably been in more court cases, maybe than any person alive today, from people suing him for any variety of literally. I would honestly wager that he has been involved in more court cases, maybe than any person living on earth.
I think 56,000 of them.
Sure. So if any person had the ability to know how to navigate this particular set of things to get to the result, to the desired outcome, I do believe that it would be him. So I think that, look, a general does not showcase their moves before they make them in war. That's not how you win. And I think that we got to remember that this dude is playing chess, and I just have faith that we have a highly intelligent person that's going to tell us to the best of his knowledge what is really happening. And the guy is point blank saying, like, this is what occurred. So if we've believed him up until this point, I think it would be only in our best interest to continue to believe what he's saying up until we get proven otherwise. But the guy has said things and come through on the vast majority of them since the beginning of when I started paying attention to what he was saying. And the guy is more than capable of doing it. He's a sharp cat. He's got a lifetime of experience in this specific area. So I think that we just have to be patient. I think anything that we could possibly say would be nothing more than speculation, and really none of us can really speak too eloquently on it because we just don't know the details, and they're not going to reveal it to us. Like, for example, this lawsuit that's going to come out tomorrow, like, who knows what's in there? So I just think that we just really have to be patient because it's all just speculation, really.
I'm going to go to Suni next. What's interesting is now back to what Joel said about the way Trump can manipulate the media, and his favorite thing is the art of war. And I think that whole news with Sidney Powell being not part of the campaign, that might have been media manipulation to get them off of the trail. To me, that was incredibly smart because there is reasons, and now we're learning those reasons. She is a military lawyer, so she can actually call for a tribunal. So on the backside, knowing that this might take too long, knowing that these challenges might take too long, the recounts, a lot of these recounts are impossible to prove because they've ripped the slip. There's no way to even recount. It's a pointless recount. So now they've made news by making it seem like there's dissension inside the team. There's not dissension inside the team. They've separated for a purpose. We don't know if that purpose will work. We hope that it does. But she can actually now try in a court for high crimes, which she's including targeting Kemp, some other Republicans, and to people that keep saying the whole thing of, no, Republicans are backing this right now. Republicans have been a part of this broken system for a long time. There is history with Dominican and all these and voting fraud and voting issues that for some odd reason we've muffled as not widespread. But when you look at videos of the issues all the way from 2000, we have issues with voting in this country, and it's been chosen not to be fixed. And you've got a clip from Obama in 2008 that literally says, he goes, I feel good about Ohio because it's a Democrat. The Democrats run the ballot boxes. I get what he meant by it, but that's still creepy. Like, it's still a creepy, he goes, the Democrats run the machines. So to that, why is it that people are rushing other people to this judgment when there is a lot of opportunities, and Donnie Ballgame might have this master plan? And if he doesn't, then cool. We get a month and a half of our life back. But they say we speak for the rest of Americans. I'm part of 73 million people that voted for Donald Trump, and my vote should be respected enough to at least wait until December 14th. I also have no problem with the transition team and the just in case. I have no issues with that, and I'm glad that they started that process today. Cool, whatever that might be, better for our country in the long run if somehow Quid Pro Joe ends up as president.
We should every single person, every single American and every single person, quite frankly, in the world, because our election affects a lot of people around the world, not just in the United States. That's something that I realized just this year. It affects a lot of people because we lead the way in a lot of ways. every single person in the world, and especially every single person in America, should want to know whether or not this election was tainted. That's just, you should want to know, even if Biden won, because maybe you won this time, but what if you don't win next time? If we don't have control of this very thing and they have the ability to change it, we have nothing. Everything is lost. If they can just change the outcome of the election, all things are gone. That is such a huge and massive risk to our freedom for a lifetime. That is extremely significant, and we should all want to know the bottom of this. I think that like any true American would want that, no matter who won. And I think that that's what we're getting to the bottom of, not necessarily to get Trump to win, but to know whether or not it was a free and fair election. That is the only thing that matters.
100%. Is that true? Bush lost every court case in 2004, went to the Supreme Court?
It's very likely, and it has been suggested that they would lose all of the cases down below, and that's totally fine. Because the thing is that like you have to these votes. It's not about proving that they're wrong. It's about invalidating ones that were not checked. Because just like you said, they're recounting ones that were just dumped in. So it's just about invalidating all the ones that didn't follow the proper protocol. And if they successfully invalidate those votes, it could tip it a whole lot more. But
let me ask you this. Because we're in a two-party system, and there's so much at stake every 4 years, or every 2 years, actually. Do you honestly think that any sort of fraud, any sort of manipulation, any of that is purely one-sided? Or do you think it's both sides, and it's the side that loses every 2 or 4 years that makes the most noise about it? Well, do you honestly think the GOP did nothing to try to influence the election at all?
No,
influencing is different than committing a crime.
Yeah, but do you think their hands are completely clean of it? I mean, you're talking about politics. You're talking about some shady stuff that's been going on for 200 plus years. Every election's been tainted somehow, I'm sure.
I would have to say that there's probably fraud in every election on both sides, no matter what. Just the simple fact that you're counting 150 million votes, like there's going to be inaccuracies. But is it widespread, and is it at such a massive scale on one side versus the other? I don't know, but that's what they are intending to find out. Because when they're looking at the ballots, they're not just looking at some of the ballots; they're looking at all of the ballots. So if there's invalidations on the other side, fine. But I think that it's important to know whether or not it was free and fair.
Think of it this way: if I pulled a map up by county and we looked at the United States, you'd see red, which means that all those places voted down ballot. How do you have all these senators winning and the president lost? And you're telling me people just decided to go straight down ballot except for president of the United States?
Well, that's a good argument for the fact that there isn't major manipulation going on. That's the same argument as saying like, well, if they were really controlling everything, don't you think that it would be blue across the board for everybody? President, all the senators.
Nobody would believe that.
They don't care about local. I mean, local doesn't mean quite what this does. So, and to your point, I could see the confusion, Joel, in that, or the thought, not the confusion, but the thought process. So ultimately, the way that the algorithm might be working against Donald Trump is that it is software that can be manipulated singularly. So if it's a down ballot vote, they're actually able to switch singular areas according allegedly to what they're saying could have happened. Sure. I mean, if you've got an Android, that's how it plugs in. It's super simple. But to Suni's point, it does not make sense that if you're a Republican and if you're a pretty hardcore Republican that you're voting in your local elections, you're a Trump voter. There is very few that aren't. So when you look at the ballots, and this is—
I don't know, man. Anecdotally, I know friends who were the opposite as well. You know what I mean? I think he's an outlier. He always has been an outlier. I definitely know people who didn't go in and just go Republican on the board. There's people who are like, you know what? I'm definitely conservative.
But Joe Biden, we're talking about sleepy Joe Biden here. He's not pulling that many votes.
He's safe. You know what?
He's never beating the first black president ever. Nobody is going to top that.
No,
not a Democrat.
Here's why you would feel safe voting for Joe Biden, or the DNC chose. I mean, I'm not a Biden fan, just so y'all know. He's middle ground. He's safe. He's like, look, we can't put Bernie Sanders up there because then you got you got Trump over here and Bernie Sanders over here, but now you have, if we do Joe Biden, now you have Trump over here and we got kind of Biden right here. You can grab a couple of those.
That's an illusion. That is an illusion.
Have you been paying attention to Nancy and her moves?
Well,
the whole 25th Amendment, like, hey, we got an idiot coming into office. He's gonna be the president. He can't even form a damn sentence.
But no, look, the presidents are just figureheads. It's like the Queen of England. The presidents are figureheads.
Donnie Ballgame's no figurehead.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not a figurehead. That's why Republicans got pissed at him. I mean, everybody got pissed at him. That's why
Republicans wouldn't vote for him, but they would vote for all the other Republicans on the ballot.
Yeah, but that's in terms of the people he worked with. The country didn't feel the same way.
I don't think so, man. I don't see that being possible.
Can there be outliers that didn't do that vote? Absolutely. But in the sheer numbers, and there's also some Democrats, then not some. There's a lot of Democrats that still were Democrats that were Trump supporters. So it just the math should have equaled out. It doesn't make sense. There's an interesting thing that was brought up by, it was either Sidney Powell I was listening to talking about Dominion, that was talking about the fact that this software has been used to have effect on elections, allegedly. I'm going to keep saying allegedly, in the past. And it was talking about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders should have been demolishing Hillary. He was in the lead with Hillary. And they were talking about, do you guys find it weird that all of a sudden he was mad, and then he's like, yay, Hillary, and I have a new house. It was very weird. All at the same time, all those things happen. All of a sudden, there is a home purchase of over $1 million, and he all of a sudden rescinded and gave his support to Hillary Clinton in 2016. I consider Bernie, as much as I can't stand his policy, a man of virtue, but at one point, money does talk. So I think there's more to this that meets the eye, which is again why I just want to get to the bottom of truth. I just want the truth, and why, and the fact that the media is talking about every little thing that happens, like every court case dropped. It's putting that injection into the 80% of people that don't watch anything but Fox, or that's only watching the mainstream media. Sure. It's allowing them to get angry at people like us that are just like, how about we wait this out and see what's got going on? Because they've been told by the media, he's losing all these court cases. You all are stupid. That is so fucking dangerous. So dangerous.
Well, I mean, it kind of started with Fox, kind of tiptoeing out of the room when Fox, who let's be honest, propped up Trump for years, and then as soon as they were like,
prop him up, they fairly covered him.
What's that?
They didn't prop. See, it's a portrayal that he was propped up by them. He was fairly covered. Is Fox fully fair? No.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant by
fucking fair.
That's what I meant by it. But they would give him all sorts of airtime as far as like calling in the Fox and Friends and stuff. But then on election night, when they realized like there's a potential this guy might lose, they were the first ones who called Arizona and never relented.
Nah, media don't call nothing. You don't call a state with 5% of the vote in.
Fox News said Arizona. I'm not saying he won it or not. I'm just saying Fox was like, he won Arizona. That was their breaking news, and that was them kind of like slowly tiptoeing out of the room, being like, maybe we should start separating ourselves from this guy because he might not win. That's media. They were going, look, they were like, okay, if Trump loses, we got to make sure that we're able to play both sides with this new administration coming in. It's media. They're playing to their audience. I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying he won Arizona or didn't win Arizona. But when Fox calls it like that, then that's them kind of like tiptoeing away from what happened.
It's just news. We know it's media. Us sitting here. We realize this is media playing their game.
Super smart.
But you got other people that may not really pay attention like we are. And they're like, holy shit, look what's happening. And they believe this stuff like it's real. Sure. That's the problem.
Look, do you know how big the
Real
Housewives franchise is? Huge. They're not Real Housewives. That's the world we live in. We don't live in a smart world. It's just the world we live in. You got to kind of roll with the dumb punches.
Yeah. We're going to wrap up this topic. What I will say, when you come to media and the weirdness behind everything with this election, Suni was doing the math all night when her and I were talking. And this is what Hillary said: under no circumstances should Biden concede, which didn't make sense. So she said that. And we were in a place where if you were watching CNN that night or any of the other mainstream networks, they were all but done. They were miserable. Even people from the Biden campaign were looking this way, looking like they were sad. And then Biden came on very joyful. And we're like, you're fucking losing, bro. And then Trump came on, clearly got news from somebody about what was going on, and was clearly upset. Something was odd. And if you look at the math, and this is where it's weird, and this is where with the information that they all have in the back room in their war room of 8,000 people, whatever the fuck, working for each company, is they're doing math based on the counties, based on all the polling data that they have and the amount of votes left. If you were to take the amount of votes left and the percentage left in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia, especially, and North Carolina, which we won, if you were to take the amount of percent left, there was no way mathematically that Biden could come back. The percentages, although estimates, usually have a plus minus of 2%. They ended up in some of those states, Michigan included and Pennsylvania included, having a plus minus of 10% off. So there's 10% of votes that even the news, while they were reporting, did not have on. This is enough where the American public should be shared. And Fox doesn't even talk about that because they don't want their checkers to be wrong. This is where they avoid that. They avoid the whole math and what they do behind the scenes. They're avoiding that conversation, which to me is the number one reason why Americans should just go, let's take a breath and let's realize that something is off. There has never been in history a 10% addition or 10% error based on all the news channels that we're deeming as perfect right now. So
facts, bro. We covered this the night of the election. I was like, this does not make sense. I stayed up all night, and I'm in Japan. I stayed up for like 2 days trying to figure it out because I'm like, I went to bed. This guy had solid leads, especially in Michigan and Wisconsin. That's what we were paying attention to.
Yep.
And I woke up. I was like, what the hell happened?
And the videos of the people where they're catching it switching live, again, that could be something very simple that could be explained. Yeah. Nobody's explaining it. Because they're getting a direct feed. So how is it that 29,000 votes went from Trump, like that exact number? That's enough where it's like, why is this happening? That's an exact example of what looks to be a switch in votes. Why?
Yeah, but speculation is all well and good, but does that really add to the conversation of it, though? You know what I mean?
It merits a conversation.
A pipe burst, guys. A pipe burst. The pipe burst.
Watch
out, guys. A pipe burst. They had to stop. They had to stop for 3 hours. We're tired. We're gonna go to sleep. We're gonna come back in a few hours. The fuck is that?
And the spike is, and then we talked about the whole spike in votes. So the initial story in Michigan was 130,000 votes went only to Biden and none to Trump. So that became the news, which turned out to not be quite correct. It was actually like 130,000 to Biden and like 12,000 to Trump. Also mathematically impossible, but everybody's like, see, I told you it wasn't one way. You guys are both. It's a distraction. And it is something that mathematically makes no sense of something that was delivered at 4:00 in the morning that for some odd reason people are like, that's a conspiracy. No, it's a fucking fact. It's a fact. Does it mean that
it happened?
I'm not saying it's cheating. I'm not saying Joey Basements did this on purpose. I'm just saying it's enough to go, something is wrong.
Yeah. In lots of
places. Devil's advocate, and because that's what I'm here for, devil's advocate.
True.
You could argue the majority of anybody who voted earlier mail-in ballots were probably voting blue.
Not necessarily. The percentage is higher. It's not correct.
Yes, you could.
So when you have votes come out of nowhere that weren't counted that day, but counted later that or wherever it was. I know, and the problem is every state has different ways. Some count the votes the day of, some don't count like 3 days later. Like, it's just crazy, right? It's not that far-fetched to think that, okay, we have this bin of mail-in votes that we got, yesterday. Let's count them all up. And the majority of them turn out to be for Biden, right? Because I think most of the mail-in early voting,
not 95-5.
What's that?
Yeah, 70-30 maybe 75, like an enhanced version of the number 75, but 95-5. That's impossible.
Did you vote early?
I voted early, but I didn't vote. I didn't
vote.
Yeah, but think of all the elderly people.
I'm just trying to think of
mail in. that didn't get their votes stolen by the people that own their centers. Think about all the elderly votes that were Trump supporters. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a 50-50, but 95-5 is bullshit.
95-5 is bullshit. 50-50 is bullshit. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't think it's too far-fetched to see this kind of spike happen for the blue.
Yeah.
The night, the night after or the couple of days afterwards.
There's just a lot of irregularities.
The blue, man.
There's irregularities every couple of years. It's definitely something that should be figured out.
But there's like a real overwhelming amount.
But there's no way you're gonna be able to solve irregularities unless you have people come in.
But there will be. There will be, and Big Rude is about to come and show what it is.
If that's the case, then why did Hillary go on and press her for like months and say they were cheating? There was some voter irregularity in there, and why didn't they go to court? Why aren't they making as much noise as we are? Because we're really pissed the fuck off that you just cheated in this election.
Because she was.
So I want to know what happened.
She couldn't have won off of that.
And so was Joe.
Yeah,
Joe was getting his ass whooped.
Speaking of Maria,
not winning.
Speaking of Maria's comment, right. Maria Reinhart is the nurse that I interviewed, which we're going to go to next. So final thoughts on this topic before we head over there. Anybody got anything final to say about current state of the election? I got a gut feeling we'll still be talking about it next week.
I thank y'all for having on. I enjoy logical conversation. You're
not leaving yet, Joel. This is just on this topic. We've got about 15 minutes left. Don't say your goodbyes yet.
I got to get some more vodka then.
Okay. We're going to watch the 9-minute interview, and then we're going to come back and talk about that and have happy Thanksgiving. That's going to be the way we wrap.
I have a final thought. Final
thought on this topic.
Yes, on this topic.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we've got all of the mail-in ballots that supposedly did not have this signature verification. We've got the poll watchers that were sitting 6 feet away because of COVID. Meanwhile, the poll counters were sitting 1 foot away from each other. You've got people that were not allowed to get into polling places. You got Republican poll watchers that were not allowed to get into polling places. There's widespread evidence of this. You've got hundreds of affidavits, which, if were incorrect or lies, the people would be under the penalty of perjury. Hundreds of them that are being presented with this case of evidence of people bringing in ballots that are all for Joe Biden, ballots that had the same exact signature. You've got dead people voting. You've got irregularities, including the Dominion voting system, which has been talked about by Democrats for many years and has been documented in the news of being very, very sketchy for a very, very long time. So you have all of these things. On top of all of that, you have all of the available evidence that we can see with our own two eyes about the lack of support that Joey Basement had just around the country and the overwhelming amount of support that Trump had. You have the night of the election. You have all the things that we witnessed on TV and everything that Suni and Anthony were just talking about just a minute ago. You have all of those things. Yet despite all of that, you have an extremely narrow margin in a variety of different states. And you have all of these court cases that are slowly but surely going up the line. You got people like Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani that have careers to worry about, that are not just going to put their career and their word on the line if they're just completely full of shit. You got these people coming out and saying point blank that this is what's about to happen. This is what we have evidence of. Be patient. We're about to drop this shit in court. So it's like, this is all nothing until we see what happens. But I don't know. It seems like a hell of a lot of work for them to just be goosing us for no reason.
Like my man Lance Armstrong used to say, "You ain't cheating, you ain't trying."
That's just nuts. You get it? Okay.
He also had one testicle, so
yeah, that's why I said that's just nuts. I should.
He also got all his awards taken away and was completely disgraced for it. So
he also had sex with Sheryl Crow, though, so it's a given.
Who cares? He can have Sheryl Crow.
Inner prime Sheryl Crow.
This is my final statement on this one. Jerry, no one cheated. You're just sore losers. Here's my analogy, and this is how I'm going to finally end this topic, is think of it like a basketball game. No, let's go with baseball. We're going to go with baseball, and there is a challenge at the plate, and we can now have instant replay, and it looked like the guy was 100% out at home, but it's up for a replay. One team right now is saying, I don't want the replay, and there's a chance that the actual person sliding home might have stepped over the person, and we might have missed it in real time. All we're waiting for is the instant fucking replay. That's all we're waiting for. Mm-hmm. And I think that's completely fair.
We're going to go to New York for that. It's going to be a little while.
But it's not. But the thing is that you're not a sore loser if you want to validate that the election was free and fair. That's the thing, because what we're trying to figure out is whether or not they goosed it. Not if Trump won, but just if they have the capacity to deceive the American people at that level. It's not about Trump. It's not about losing. It's about, do they have the capacity to manipulate the results of an election for anyone?
They proved that 4 years ago. They did. The intelligence community proved it 4 years ago. They had the capacity to influence elections.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't the intelligence community say that there was hacking and stuff in 2016?
But not to a widespread level.
Did they prove it to? Did they prove it to
Russia
overturn
did
it?
not collude.
Well, no, that story was swept under the rug because it wouldn't have mattered either way. Because the loser wasn't making a stink about it.
But if it was widespread to a degree that it could change the results of the election, that should be of concern of all people.
Well, it should be concerned whether it changes the results or not.
But I gave the Russian collusion topic. I gave it several months until I realized it was not valid. We were spending millions of dollars as a country. I was not on the bandwagon of this is bullshit right away. I was like, let's hear it out.
Yeah, and they didn't find anything, and they spent millions of dollars and years of time, and they found nothing. And to this day,
I think Cheryl Cook in the comments made a great point.
What'd she say? I missed it.
It's too bad I'm registered independent.
I missed it.
That's all.
All right, we're gonna move on real quick. So what there's Suni. All right, here we're gonna do. I interviewed a LPN. She works at a nursing home in the lovely state of Illinois. She's working tonight. It looks like she's taking some time off because I saw her in the comment box. Hopefully nobody from the nursing home is asleep this early. They probably are. I don't know. We're going to play this, and then our last topic is really going to be how to have the holidays. Like, what is the true purpose of life at this point? Should we continue to keep ourselves locked down, or do we need to see our relatives, our loved ones, our older people, etc.? So we're going to get this party started. Look at the production value. All right, we have an LPN right now from Illinois, Maria Reinhardt. Maria, thank you for joining us. We'll obviously be playing this during Truth Will Set You Free Tuesday. You're not in the typical place that we see a lot of our nurses. You're actually in the nursing homes. You're not in multiple. You're in one. But this is your first call to duty. So tell us about your background as a nurse, when you got started, and where you are to this point.
Well, I started nursing school last year. I just finished in August, and this is my first job. So I finished nursing school right when the pandemic started. So going into nursing was it was a lot because the workload is a lot heavier and the restrictions and rules are a lot more. So I started working as a nurse in August, fresh nurse right out of school. And I didn't really have as much clinical experience like in hospitals when I was in school. So I'm just doing the best I can and learning as I go.
Yeah, this is crazy. You were talking about your last semester essentially was online. So they decided they brought nurses online to then get ready to throw them to the wolves and go in person, which that's an interesting way to go about things. So you've hit the ground running, obviously, in the middle of the uptick of cases in August is when you started, which is kind of the beginning of that end of summer phase to where we are now, where cases are out of control. And you're working with the nursing home patients, which are a little bit different. What is it like inside the nursing home that you work at?
Well, the residents, they are not allowed out of their rooms without a mask on. They used to eat meals in the dining room with each other and be able to have interaction with other people. If they come out of their rooms now, they have to have a mask on. And that's difficult because a lot of them don't understand. Most of them have dementia. So if we're putting a mask on their face, they take it off or they get upset and they don't understand. We do testing twice a week for employees. The residents get tested every week. And that's also difficult because they don't understand why somebody's sticking something up their nose once a week to test them. We have had quite a few positives, and they just go on a certain hall on isolation away from all the other residents. And that makes them pretty depressed and confused as well, because they already are missing out on that social interaction, not being able to eat meals with other residents. The families can't come in. So we've been doing window visits where the family has to call ahead of time to schedule an appointment, and they can come on the side of the building on the window where their mom, dad, family member is, and they can like crack open the window and like talk to them that way, but they have to wear the mask and everything. And it's really sad because some of them, you know, they're in their last phase of life and they're dying alone. They're not seeing family. It's really sad.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't. My grandpa was just in a nursing home, and he recently passed away, not from COVID, but to me, and you get to see them on a daily basis and deal with them, and it's not worth it. Like to me, it's if we have such a short life, and if I was, and I'm speaking out of turn for myself, but if I was 85 years old, I'm a free human being. I would make the choice of risking my life to still have that human contact in my last 6 months, my last 2 years, whatever it is. I don't know if you talk to some more of the lucid patients or whatever, what's the general opinion between other nurses and even the patients?
The residents that are alert enough to understand what's going on, they can express that it's hard and it's difficult and they're having a hard time with it. But some of them are also, you know, just pleasantly confused and they just kind of roll with it. As far as nurses and other employees, it's a lot more difficult to watch them. You know, some of them get confused and why hasn't my son come to see me? Why hasn't my daughter come to see me? Stuff like that. And it's hard to explain it. I mean, and if you think about it, the generation that I'm taking care of, they've been through a lot of things, a lot more things than we've been through. And surely they would understand, but it's really difficult because as a nurse, you know, I pass meds and do treatments, but I'm also there for them emotionally too. So
you have to become their family and their friends in this time. Like we talk about the importance of nurses in hospitals, but right now nurses in nursing homes are serving a much greater, I shouldn't say much greater, but a much different duty, which is not just the basic caretaking, but you are their only person they're allowed to see. Have you lost any patients to COVID?
Yes.
Okay.
And most of the time, the ones that do not make it are either diabetic or have other health conditions.
Yeah. All right. Final thought. And again, I thank you for taking the time to do this. I know during the show, if we would have had you on, you're actually working a shift tomorrow or it's Tuesday. If there's a message as you see the cases go up, what can you lend to people watching in terms of what do you place importance on? We all have different opinions. Some people say, make sure you wear a mask. Some people say, be kind. Some people say, screw it, see your relatives, like do what you can. It's Thanksgiving. What would be the message that you would pass along?
I think family is really important, and I do believe that this is a real thing, obviously, but in my opinion, it's not as serious as what the media portrays it to be, and we've seen far more deaths because of influenza and things, and of course elderly, young children, and anybody with like health conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, they're gonna have a harder time recovering from this. But I don't think people should really stop seeing their family and shut everybody out, because it's just not worth it. You want to wear your mask when you're out in public, that's fine. I know some places you have to. Where I live, you don't have to. They encourage it. But I have to wear a mask 8 hours a day at work. So I kind of got used to it. But and if anybody has a resident in the nursing home or a mother, father, grandfather, whatever, give them a call. Every nursing home probably has different restrictions right now, but it's just important to spend time with family and don't be too scared of it to where you stop living your life. And that's what I've always told myself in the beginning. I'm not going to stop living my life.
Yeah. Human contact is important. And we're seeing with the cases, I can name right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can name 15 people that I know that are COVID positive right now.
Yeah.
And
I didn't mean to do that.
No, you're good. And they're all, they're surviving. I do know a couple that have passed away, and a lot of them have been sick. So ultimately, human contact is huge. It's this lack of human contact, taking people in their 30s and 40s is breaking them to their core. I can't imagine being on, your last decade, your last few years. And so do what you can, give phone calls, etc. So thank you again, Maria. You're killing it on the front lines. Cannot appreciate you more. Talking about getting thrown into the fire. So thank you for this being your first job. Just think of it like this. From this point forward, it's just like the movie Forrest Gump. From here, shrimping is easy. So nursing will be easy after COVID is over. It can't get any worse. So thank you again. And we'll go back to the live show.
All right.
I tell you, that interview nailed it. Get that guy a daytime Emmy right there. Just like
supposed to come back and tell jokes after that and be like,
yeah, I almost forgot to talk about Cuomo getting the Emmy. That was whatever. That's another discussion for a different time. What do you guys think about? What's your philosophies, Bobby, on the holidays right now? Elderly relatives, nursing homes. The way we're handling it of like blocking people off and cutting. What do you think?
I think that American people are intelligent enough to make their own decisions about how they operate in their own life. If you have a person that may have an issue, if you think that somebody's older, you should have the right to make that decision on your own to protect you and your family. That's what we should have the right to do. And I think that a lot of people will make the right decision as it relates to that. But to say that by government decree that you can't have 6 people in your house or more than 3 households or whatever you want to say, I think is insane. And I don't really think that that's going to change or adjust anything. That's an arbitrary restriction that they're pulling out of nowhere. And it's sad. I think you should take your family and yourself and your health into consideration, do your own research and understand what risks you're taking. And then you should have the freedom to make your own decision. So I would say, make the decision that you feel is right.
I'm going to agree with you. I think to me as a rational human, I think it's pretty common thought process. I think in the nursing homes, I think blocking family from visiting, I think is insane. I think from day one, I think that's insane if you could do it safely and also allow the people to have a choice. If an old person doesn't want their family coming, then fine, let that be. Now, separating older people that live together in the nursing homes, I can see that being one way to handle it. At the same time, you can also let them make that choice. If they're of sound mind, still let them choose. If they want to see their best friend, Frank, that's right across the way from them, let them actually do that and let them make that choice, in their last stretch of the long ball game. In the 9th inning, you know what I mean?
We described death.
Yeah.
Stretch of the.
I didn't know where I was going on that
period. They're going to go double overtime, sudden death.
There is the ability to take precaution and still give freedom to people that have lived a full life that want somebody there in the end. Personal opinion. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I think Bobby gives way too much credit to the American people. We saw American people are intelligent enough. I'm playing with you. No, because half of them voted for Biden, so I don't know why you give them credit for that.
Allegedly.
I'm just playing.
Allegedly.
No, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't like Thanksgiving because I hate turkey and gravy and stuffing, so I don't care. I couldn't name 3 of my cousins, so this doesn't affect me personally on a holiday level. That being said, I agree with both of you. I think there's a very, and this is going to be the most moderate thing I've said. I've probably been pretty moderate. There's a way to get through this and be logical about it. Like you could either hole up in your attic and just have food delivered every week and not see another person and wear a hazmat suit, which is the one extreme, or the other extreme where you can just, run around, naked and throw parties of groups of 50 people and claim that these are, your American rights. There's a middle ground that y'all are talking about, and I 100% agree with that. You could live a life and still be safe and still do all the things you normally could do as long as it's not closed. This actually does affect me because my grandmother is in a nursing home right now and doesn't understand it and doesn't get being behind glass and doesn't get not visiting people. She's also diagnosed with COVID a couple of days ago. And so we can't see her. We can't go and see her. And it sucks. And she doesn't understand the fact that we can't go back to her room to see her, which is terrible. And my mom is in assisted living now, or an independent living. We're going to move her to assisted living. And we chose not to because for the simple fact that we wouldn't be able to see her for 6 months. Once you put her in the facility.
Well, I got a question.
So,
You're not allowed to see her because she has COVID. If you were allowed to take the risk and be there for her, wear a mask, do whatever it takes, wear the extra mask, would you do it?
100%.
Why don't we have that choice?
What's that?
Why don't we have that choice?
Right.
I'll be cynical with my answer about that. I'll be cynical. Well, first of all, I do think a lot of it is kind of virtual signaling. And it's like stopping alcohol sales at 5 p.m. in Pennsylvania. It's like, we're doing a little something here for you. Get it? But I'll be more cynical about my choice. I think it's litigation. I think if you open it up and you let widespread COVID go, then I think you're going to piss off a lot of people who are family members of those people who died. And next thing you know, the lawyers will come calling and you got payouts coming.
Then
I think it's a financially sound choice for them.
We've created walls in restaurants for people to be able to eat overnight. Why can't we have a legal document that just takes away responsibility from people that want to see their dying relatives or their elderly relatives that have it? It just doesn't make any sense why that is not an option. And I know people that have died from it and their husbands, wives, etc., could not visit them until the last couple hours before they pass. It's bullshit.
I think at this point, we're just kind of flailing. You know what I mean? Like, we are being reactive to it, and we should have been proactive. Like, I think we're so deep into it now. We're just kind of making these arbitrary rules and throwing things out there.
That's been a rule since the beginning, though. That was that's one of the first rules is the nursing.
For sure. I'm just talking in the general scheme of things.
Yeah.
And that's why it's even more frustrating because the things that we've done before didn't quite work out. And we're still just throwing a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And and that's why everybody's frustrated about it. And that's why what it's causing is people to question every rule that comes down now.
Yeah.
What if we didn't have critical thinkers that were like, okay, they could just be doing this for like your reason. They're just telling you, hey, we're doing something. Okay. But then there's a logical side of my brain that says, even if you're just doing something, that something makes zero sense.
Sure.
Why can't I do that?
Right.
So people are asking questions when there are more people like yourself that are just like, this is just what the government does. Shut up. They don't want to hear it. But I think it's time that people snap out of that. It's like you're somewhat in a narrow-minded view, like what you're talking about would never happen. It's just the government. That's how people react to everything. You're a conspiracy theorist. Like, no, bro, use the little piece of pink that the Lord put up here and just think for a second. Just for a second, everything is not as far-fetched as we all think. This stuff is absolutely possible. That's all I'm saying. Why are us critical thinkers, the ones that are thinking like this don't make no sense? Why are we censored? Number one.
I agree, but yes, I 100% agree. I think there are definitely a lot of strings behind, and there's a lot of people manipulating things, and there's a bigger story behind everything. Absolutely. But also to that point, why pick that battle? I don't know. Maybe I'm just like too,
because it's affecting hundreds of millions of people.
Like, why am I shut up? Why are you shadow banning me? Why are you blocking my content? Why do you snatch my videos down? If what I'm talking about is nonsense, why would you go to those great lengths? I
think it's super weird that the same party that just proclaims pro-choice in terms of a child does not allow. It is on the plane of we don't have a choice. You must wear a mask. You must do this. You must comply with nursing home orders. It's just an odd thing to me. And I'm a pro. I'll I'm totally honest, and most people hate this, but I lean more on the pro-choice side. I don't think abortion is good. I don't think it should ever be celebrated, but I think that there is certain circumstances that lead to choice, and I always get in trouble on this one. But I also, as a man, I just stay out of the conversation for the most part. It's not anywhere near the top of my list of issues. But at the same time, I'm looking at it as a choice issue. That's part of the things that the reason why people are pro-choice is this freedom that they have to do these things. Yet they're feeling it's okay to kill an unborn child. Yet it's not okay to see a dying relative that has lived for 85 years based on your choice.
But you are paying a crap ton of money to put someone in a home to extend their life. You're paying someone to take care of them, and their job is to take care of them. So I'm kind of
but then it's still choice. Like I would rather, I mean, do these people want to be, people are always saying, I wish I had a better nursing home for my relative because they treat them like shit. So ultimately people are always wanting a better end of life. It's not just actually, I don't think nursing homes' purpose is to extend life. Actually, I don't think it is. I think the purpose of nursing homes are to take care of them.
Comfortable in their final days.
Yeah. Comfortable is key. Now, would you be uncomfortable not being able to see your relatives when you're, I mean,
No, I'm on your side 100%. I'm just trying to offer
I got you. No, you're doing a great job there, Devils. DA, I'm going to call you the DA. Speaking of DA, Krusty in the house.
I still think at the end of the day, it's just like, it's just more, it's just kind of more doing stuff just to do stuff. What'd you say? Wait, what did I miss? Was it more?
No, I Krusty the Clown. I was saying DA, district attorney. Anyways, it was a stretch. It was a stretch. I know.
I had a third agreement point. I was gonna go for the triple.
Oh, my bad. I totally ruined that. All right, let's wrap it up, guys. I don't know how we did this. We kept it nice and short. I loved the dynamic of this group today, so appreciate you guys. Let's start with Suni. What do you got to say?
I think people need to be critical thinkers and research. I think the idea that people that choose to be Trump supporters or just conservative, that we are all living in a world that is just purely conspiracy, yet I can explain things that you can't. Just research. That's all I'm saying. Do some research. And if you don't believe anything we said here tonight, bro, go fact check me. You don't know how many people that watch my show that was like, I fact checked the fuck out of you and I couldn't prove anything you said wrong. Research. And I'll leave it at that.
And on the fact checks, don't just read the answer. Read the whole paragraph that comes below the fact check. That's actually how you learn things. Joel, go ahead. What do you got? Final thoughts? Oh, wait a second. Suni, when is your next show?
I'm thinking of doing something after this one. Maybe not. I'll do it from my phone, but I'll let everybody know. So I might be live tonight.
Okay, got it. Joel.
Here's the thing. Don't judge people just on one thing. If you voted your political beliefs, your religion, your gender, your sexuality, whatever it is, people are humans. They're layers. They're more than one. There's more than one aspect to everybody. Unless they choose to define themselves as that one thing and ask to be judged on that, then that's fine. But don't just take people on the one thing and ignore all their other beautiful values about them. Unless they're an asshole. If they're an asshole, judge them. Just don't be an asshole. Everybody else you can get along with. So reject the assholes and get along with everybody else.
That's actually, I always referred to Donald Trump as an asshole, but I said he's my asshole. All right.
That's
Joel, you got any comedy shows coming up?
No.
Nope. All right, moving on.
Go to Amazon Prime and watch Elliot McCabe, MACABRE, Elliot McCabe on Amazon Prime. And I just had a bunch of photos I did accepted into the Smithsonian Institute, so it's going to be a display at the National Museum of American History in D.C. in January.
Photos of you are going to be in the American History Museum?
Photos I did at the start of the pandemic.
Oh, I didn't know you were that old. I didn't know.
No. I took pictures of COVID shutting down America, and Smithsonian's like, we want those.
Oh, that's sick. Well done, buddy. God, you're a man of many talents.
So there you go.
Many talents. Bobby, go ahead, my friend.
I guess the final thought would be for everybody that is paying attention to a high level to just be patient for everything to come and play out, to pay attention to the Sidney Powell release that supposedly is going to be happening tomorrow. For anybody that's losing faith, to just keep the faith, because ultimately what we're trying to do is figure out whether or not it was a free and fair election. So I would pay attention to that. And I would just say that as it relates to the Corona clap, I would encourage most people to do research, just like Suni said, and to just not blindly accept all of these egregious lockdown rules that they're putting on everybody. And the only way that any of this stuff is going to change is if people open conversations and speak out about this. And we can't just be dismissive, and we can't just lay down because that's the way that it is. That's a certain way to lose more and more freedom until we have nothing left. And the severity of it escalates for me in my mind all the time. So I would say that, like, we need to open America. The kids need to go back to school. A lot of these numbers are goosed. These lockdown orders are destroying lives and businesses across the land. The numbers are absolutely not in any way, shape, or form explaining the true destruction that's occurring right now. And the only way that we're going to change it is by speaking up and having conversations about it. And I think that's what an American patriot would do.
Thank you, Bobby Sauce. What do you got coming up? Are you doing another marathon live anytime soon? Or
Yeah, I would just say follow me on Instagram at TakeNaps. Follow me on Facebook and on YouTube, Bobby Sausalito, and I'm doing stuff all the time. I put out a video pretty much every day. I dropped a pretty good one today, and I'm just going to keep pumping them out.
I appreciate you having me on here, and I appreciate getting to talk with Bobby and Suni for the very first time. It was a great conversation. I appreciate it. It's kind of like it was nice, which you just don't always get in politics. So it was kind of sweet. So I appreciate getting those two. And Anthony, I really liked you. So
I appreciate you being here, Joel. I think you provide you went outside your box and provided a counterpoint even when you didn't feel it. So I appreciate that. Yeah. Can't hold you down. So again, Bobby, Suni, Joel, thank you, as well as Maria Reinhardt, our nurse. It's Thanksgiving this week. I'm a big believer of freedoms in America. And if you don't want to see your family because somebody's sick, that's fine. You're free to do that. And if you do, fuck them. I mean, that's the best advice I could give at this point. Get a case of the fuck-its. Do what you can. I appreciate you guys for being here and growing with us as we continue these shows with different people. Joel, I think you were absolutely fantastic on this. And later tonight, this for Suni and Bobby as well. I am going to suggest I'm going to do a video because I talked to a Facebook specialist. There is going to be a way for you guys to follow any of the pages you want, like Suni, Cash, me, Bobby, Joel, if he wants it as well, if you want to share it. There's a certain amount of things that you now have to do on Facebook to alter your settings so that you actually receive this on the page that you go on, which will actually help people see the show. So the more we show it, the more people are going to have to do this 25-second thing that will allow you guys to see our show. So that'll come up later tonight. A reminder that tomorrow I got to make sure I'm pronouncing his name right. Cartier Carey and his mom will be on, which is going to be really awesome. This kid's cool as shit. He's been doing stuff since he was 10 years old to actually create change in homeless communities, etc. Great mom. Looking forward to having them on. I'm going to try to get Cash to come on to help us host that show as well. Aside from that, have a great Thanksgiving, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate you. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you share this. This was a great show to share. I think it provides an interesting viewpoint for people on all ends of the political spectrum. So thank you guys again. Have a great night. Great night. Great fight.
Ciao.